Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HireMyVA Team and Business Building Podcast, where we help you to reclaim your freedom through hiring and thriving with virtual assistants without breaking the bank, without breaking your bank. And I'm Dave Braun, and I'm here with Larry Broughton, who's my partner in all things coaching, fantastic business mentor, helps coach me in life, walking with me as a brother through all of these crazy life ups and downs. And just before we started recording, we were laughing about something pretty hard.
And handsome Dave,
Hello, Larry.
It's so good to be on here with you, man. I feel like, like last night, it felt like making sausage. That's what my life is like right now. You don't want to see what it looks like behind the scenes. But I appreciate you being on the journey with me and keeping me on track, man.
Yeah, you too, man. Need you in my life. It's awesome. Awesome ride we're going on. Yeah. Okay. Well, we are on the third of a three-part series where we're talking about this question, can you explain the HireMyVA success model? And this is part 3, which is Thrive, episode 85.
Yeah. So episode number 83 was Prepare. Okay. Episode number 84 was Hire. And as you said, this is 85, which is to Thrive. This is like one of my favorite portions of the whole process, because if we're not thriving in business, we're doing something wrong. It means it's time to actually go back and tweak the model, because when you thrive, that's really when you start finding freedom in your life. And really, that's why we're in this space, right? We're not just trying to help people hire VAs. We want them to find real freedom through entrepreneurship, through leadership, through their journey for high achievement. So if you've not listened to episodes 83 and 84, I'm going to really recommend bookmark this video. Go back and watch episode number 83 first and episode number 84. But this Thrive part helps really bring the whole thing together. So go back and look at those other videos. I'm going to remind you, make comments on this video or on this podcast as we're going along. We'll get on there. We'll communicate with you your successes, your failures, any transparency you have about business entrepreneurship, hiring people, working with VAs will help other team members or other community members as well. Which reminds me, the community is really an important element of this program and of our victory program. So get out there. This entrepreneurial journey, Dave, this leadership journey that we're on, is a lonely one.
It is.
Sometimes. And you and I were on a call with some of our clients earlier today, and it's amazing how quickly people bond when it comes to helping each other with their challenges, right? And you feel like, hey, I'm not in this alone. And without exception, every one of them had a breakthrough because someone else on the call had an experience or had a word of wisdom for them that they wouldn't have figured out on their own, right? So get in the community, make comments, share your experiences, and life is meant to be lived that way, I believe.
Yeah, that's the beauty about mentoring and coaching and walking with people, is they help you avoid mistakes and they help you to get success faster than you would on your own.
That's right.
With the right friends and the right mentor and coach.
And anyone who's been on this journey with Dave and I for any length of time knows that I'm kind of a fan of Venn diagrams. I'm a visual person. I remember when I was going to Stanford's executive program, Venn diagrams and matrix, development to help simplify complex concepts really helped me get through that program. So we're going to be sharing with you, as we have in episodes 83 and 84, a Venn diagram that shows and describes the HireMyVA success model. So why don't you go ahead and share your screen, Dave, and let's dive into the Thrive portion of this.
Let me do that. Okay, so Larry, do you see my screen?
I do.
Okay.
And again, so our VA, or one of our VAs, Daphne, prepared this. Dave and I sat down and came up with the concept here, and our VA put all of it into this diagram, okay? So that we didn't have to do it. It gave us more freedom. We could do what we do best, right? And that's to pontificate, come up with concepts.
There you go.
All right, Dave, let's get into this.
All right. So as Larry said, this is a Venn diagram. If you're listening and you're not watching, I'll describe it as best I can, but there's a Venn diagram with 3 circles that are overlapping, and the top circle is prepare. The one on the lower right is hire, H-I-R-E, and the one on the lower left, which we're going to go into a few details today, is thrive. And we're going to, since we've gone through all these, we'll bring it all together a little bit.
Yeah.
And so each one of those circles has got 4 main elements in our program, and we've talked about those. So envision right now, we're going to talk about the thrive part.
Yes.
Envision right now the circle on the left, and remember, it's overlapping with the 2 other circles, prepare and hire.
Mhm.
And so we'll talk about where they overlap in a second. But we're going to go through the 4 different main components of the Thrive part of our course and community, and what we believe is necessary to create ultimately freedom, which is at the center of all this, like Larry said. So, all right, so let's talk about the first one, leadership. And Larry, you are you're one of the best leaders that I've ever met and known. I've learned so much from you. I want you to talk about this aspect of it.
Wow. Well, thank you, David. I
You're
appreciate you saying
welcome.
that.
True.
Well,
It's true.
listen, we cannot cover every element
Oh
or
my
tenet
gosh.
of
No.
leadership in this program. To become an effective leader, it's a lifetime commitment
It is.
to learning and loving our team members. Did you catch what I just said?
Mm-hmm.
Learning and loving
Loving. Mm-hmm.
your team members. Just because you might have taken a leadership course when you're in the Boy Scouts, or you took a 6-hour program on leadership through skill set or something like that, you're not an expert in leadership yet. It really takes dedication. So, but what we have done is we've taken the 40 plus years of leadership roles that I've had in business and in the military and personal nonprofit organizations, and Dave's roughly same length of time, put those together, plus all the dozens of leaders that we have interviewed, the hundreds of people who've been through our programs, and we've really picked out some of the key elements of leadership to put them in the program so that you set up your organization for success. What we have found over the years that the old command and control style of leadership doesn't work
Right.
anymore, right? It's really more of a collaborative success thing. Our job should be to serve our team members, and we just help you get there, right? One of the challenges, Dave, that we found is that there are a lot of people who are used to leading and managing teams that are in their office or that in their space, and they take a different, and sometimes it does take a different technique to lead people that are far away, that are
Mm-hmm.
6,000 miles away from us. Um, in some ways, it is easier to lead those folks. Other ways, it is much more complicated. But we take into things like cultural differences, like
Right.
country cultural differences, right? We have to take that into account. We have to take into communication. We have to talk about setting expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But we've heard some really interesting, positive comments about this portion of the program. I think this Thrive section, particularly the leadership section and the you section, I suppose, are so uniquely different from what anyone else is teaching out there that this is what I think makes it super powerful.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things within the course that we talk about is being I mean, some people call it a level 5 leader, but it's basically, the definition would be somebody who seeks the growth of the organization and their team over their own interests, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
of
So
course.
that's a true servant leader. So that's kind of like a hint of what we talk about, and that's really tough. And like Larry said, it takes a lifetime. I mean, like you said, there's tons of leadership books, and we really only scratch the surface of this, but it's a powerful surface, and it gives you a great foundation of
Sure.
becoming the kind of leader that you want to have or you want to be in your business.
Yep.
So that's the first of the 4. The second one is trust. Okay. Now, these are all interrelated to a certain extent, but let's talk a little bit about trust. There's got to be a trust plan of where you can start trusting your new team member, your new virtual assistant, as well as them trust you. If you don't have a plan to establish that, then it's going to be haphazard of when you give them access to certain information that will allow them to be as productive as possible. Right. So, for example, in the web design business where I'm at, there's certain levels of access that I give to my virtual assistants, my team, and sometimes it's all the way to server level access, to where if they are maybe not as honest as they should be, they could mess me up. But of course, I don't give them that the first week out the door, right? You're
Right.
hiring an IT person. You don't give them access to all of your systems from the get-go. You don't give somebody the access to all of the keys in the office, right away. So you give them certain amount of access. And then, so that's you trusting them, but they've also got to start trusting you that you are going to have them work in the position that you hired them for example. There's people that will do a bait and switch and saying, okay, you're going to get to do this in the business. You're going to get to, move us ahead, move us forward. And then they're hired and then they do grunt work. Well, that's not trust, right? So to get that trust going, you as a leader have got to make sure that you're doing what you say that you said when you were going to hire him. So it really works both ways.
Yeah, I think this is one of those components that so many people forget. There's a book by Stephen Covey's eldest son, Stephen Covey, called The Speed of Trust.
Yeah.
That's really important here is that organizations are more efficient when there's trust in the organization.
Yes.
Just a really quick example for anyone who is, over, I don't know, 35 or 40, I suppose, is that if you think about airports in the United States prior to the 9/11 event, so it's very efficient. You could easily get dropped off at the curb and get to your gate very efficiently, right? You could get to an airport easily 20 minutes, depending on the airport. It didn't take a whole lot of time to get to the gate, is my point. And then 9/11 happened when trust plummeted. Right. So what did we have to do? Well, we needed to build in security measures and checks and balances to make sure that things were right. And now it takes you a lot longer. That's just kind of one physical representation of what happens when trust drops. So what's happening in your organization? What are you doing to actively increase the level of trust so your team members trust you?
Yeah.
Right. This and oftentimes this comes into character stuff, like you were saying, Dave. If you say one thing but you do something else, the team members start scratching their head. Yeah, but you said I was going to be doing this job. So they're always questioning, are there ulterior motives here?
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Makes sense?
Yeah. So trust, so important.
Yes.
And then of course, the third of the four is productivity. And that's pretty obvious, right? That's a key component of Thrive. You've got to be productive. They've got to be productive. And you need to set them up to be as productive as possible. And we have ways to do that. And that's one of the reasons why, for example, in our white glove service, where we get you a rockstar VA, we have a call afterwards that nobody else does that talks about the productivity. It's like, why or how are things going? Are they being productive? Are they doing what they said? Are they communicating properly? And if not, we delve into why and what could be done about it. And then there's, and Larry, I think we talk about a lot of little productivity tips. Like a simple one would be make sure they have a second monitor. Be surprised how many people come on and they don't have a second monitor. It's crazy. Because remember, we're talking about a virtual assistant, right? Somebody who's virtual, who's probably working from their home or some other office. You can't take for granted that they've got all the equipment that's going to make them as productive as possible.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the third. So we've talked about leadership, trust, productivity. And then the last major component may end up being the most important is you, right? Because we want you to have freedom. We want you to thrive in your business, but you got to spend the time taking care of you.
Yeah, you sure do. Not just taking care of you, but becoming a better version of you. People are always watching.
Yes.
They truly are. And if you are the type of leader that grinds people down, you don't trust people, your personal agenda is constantly put in front of everyone else's. You take credit for someone else's work. Okay. People are judging you and they're not going to give you their best. So we believe that if you want to be a true servant leader, you want to find real freedom in your life, you need to have those strong character skills of being able to do some self-assessments, get on a self-improvement journey. And I know this sounds a little bit crunchy granola, California, but all kinds of studies have proven this to be effective, right?
Yeah.
it, I ask this question all the time of folks. Have you ever worked for a leader who lacked integrity? Have you ever worked for a leader who put their personal agenda in front of your own, who micromanaged you? How did that feel?
Oh,
It didn't
yeah,
feel great, right?
not
Well,
at
don't
all.
be that person. And if
Yeah.
you are that person, guess what? All that stuff can be fixed.
Yes.
It can all be fixed. And so we just help you. We hold the mirror up a little bit
Yeah.
in this portion. All right. This is not a self-help program. Okay. But we have heard from people that they feel better about themselves. They become better leaders by going through the program. They're more prepared to take on the world. And also it helps their personal relationships out as well.
And this thrive part is like we talked about. It's not an exact science, which is why we have the community aspect of it, and we have our usually twice a month, sometimes once a month, but we have our Q&A calls where you can
Yeah.
get on here and talk about this, because that's normally where the questions come from: is how do I make my team more productive? How do I help them to show up? And are they in the right position? All that kind of stuff, right? That's why we do this, because this is one of the huge pieces of our model is the thrive part.
It's
And
really,
go ahead.
sorry, Dave, go ahead. I was just going to say that it's very interesting. Each of these components, there's the science part of leadership and business, and then there's the art part. I think that the thrive portion is much more the art element than the science element. Okay. This is where you can really put your personal stamp on your business. All right. This is where some people want to become irreplaceable, right? But this is the type where I think our organization, like I'm going to speak for my hotel company for now, like we had a couple people just in the last week, former team members. We sold a hotel and twice, two different team members in the same week contacted us unsolicited and said, you guys, best organization I ever worked for. I wish that I was working for you now. And they would list specific reasons. And it wasn't because, hey, we had the best SOPs in place. It was the stuff that we're talking about now, the ability to build trust, the leadership stuff, the personal development that we gave people, how we showed them to become more productive and feel better about themselves, right? That's where they really felt valued.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and when your team members feel valued, they're more likely to thrive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about how they overlap, right? We're bringing this all together.
Yes.
So since we talked about thrive, let's see, how does it overlap with prepare and how does it overlap with prepare? So that's why we have the word foundation, because the idea is that people will come and go in your organization. You'll hire some more and you may have to fire some. That's just the natural course of business. But if you get the prepare part right, where we talked about the culture, requirements, benefits, you get that right. And then you get the thrive part right, where you're becoming a better leader. You've got a trust plan and you know how to be more and more productive. You get those right. And that ends up being one of the foundations, a foundation of you being successful with your team. Those two things as like when we talk about the foundation, it's what you can build upon, right? Sure. So then as we're talking about the thrive and the hire, where they overlap is the onboarding process. You will get your team member to begin going into to really start thriving if you have a proper onboarding process. And we teach you ways to do that, ways to set that up, and ways to really to bring them in the proper way so that they feel valued, that the trust is established very, very quickly between the two of you. So the idea is that you get them in and you get them working and productive as fast as possible. So the onboarding process, the way you go about doing that, setting the tone for the relationship that you have with your VA, that's crucial, and that's part of the onboarding process here. And then, of course, we talked before about how prepare and hire overlap, where you can attract and hire rock stars, attracting, setting up the prepare part, how you're going to do your benefits and your culture. That's very attracting or repelling, depending upon what you're doing or not doing. And then finding the right kind of rock stars, that's the hire process as well. So where they all overlap, Larry, is what we are aiming as part of our mission, and what we want people to do is gain freedom in their business.
That's right. Yeah. Yep. Imagine if you had more economic freedom, more emotional freedom, more spiritual freedom, more physical
Yeah,
freedom. Um, how would your life be any different?
that's
Right.
right. So lacking any one of these three is going to getting freedom is going to be tougher.
Yes.
It's going to be tougher. So, anything else on this prepare, hire, and thrive Venn diagram model, sir?
Well, I would say that if you have questions on this, or you have comments on any of these, this or the previous two episodes, put it in the comment section. Let's talk about it. Maybe it'll become a topic of discussion for a future podcast. If you're in the programs now, go to the community, make comments there, and let's get some dialogue going about this stuff. It's really, life is meant to be lived. It's part of a community. Okay. And the truth is, with a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders, the only community they oftentimes feel is that in their business arena.
That's
It
right.
shouldn't be that way, but the truth is that's where most of us do find our community. So let's take advantage of the community that we're offering here, because it can save you time, energy, aggravation, emotional scarring, um, versus just doing stuff on your own and trying to figure it out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for being with us today. And remember, building a team is the way to reclaim your freedom. We're here to help you through our community, our course, our Venn diagram, and our white glove service where we find a rockstar VA for you. Okay. But three things we'd love for you to do, as Larry said, one of them obviously is, do some comments. We want you to do that. That's number one. Number two is subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast to make sure you keep getting these episodes. And then number three is go to HireMyVA.com for more info on our course, community, and our white glove service. Because remember, even without experience, you learn how to prepare for, hire, and as we talked about today, thrive with virtual assistants. And Larry and I have helped a lot of folks. We want to help you as well. So just go to HireMyVA.com for more information.
Yeah, I'm going to encourage you to do a little bit of self-reflection today. What are you doing to build the emotional trust level among your team members, among your family, and among your friends? Okay, do yourself a favor, though. Go do something significant today. God bless you. God keep you. God hold you. All right, go get them. We'll see you on the other side. Bye.
See you later.